Kid Wonder has completed the toughest test yet. He's found the center podium in AMA Motocross. James Stewart has figured out what none other has been able to do in almost 3 years: how to beat the champion Ricky Carmichael. Bar to bar 1 week ago in the Sacramento mud, numbers 4 and 7 gave everyone the battle that was hyped. Stewart emerged victorious for the first time ever against Carmichael outdoors. Now, at High Point Raceway for round 2, the battle is on, but the championship is still unclear. Hello and welcome to High Point Raceway in Mount Morris, Pennsylvania for the second weekend, round 2 of the AMA Toyota Motocross Championship presented by FMF. It is the 30th annual Kawasaki Monster Energy High Point National here, where the Coombs family has been promoting great motocross events for over 30 years now. I'm Brian Drever along with David Pingree and Aaron Bates down in the pits as a crowd of folks is really getting set to enjoy themselves here. Beautiful conditions, hot and sunny, and a little bit misty, in fact, as the humidity is starting to come up out of the racetrack. David, it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful weekend of racing.
Yeah, it sure is. You know, we had a great battle last weekend with James and Ricky, and everybody's looking forward to that kind of racing all season long, so it's going to be a good one.
Nice crowd on hand, enjoying the opening ceremonies where quite a few motocross notables from years past took part and really brought out some memories for a lot of the fans that have been coming here for those 30 years.
Yeah, that's right. You had guys like Brock Glover, the Kawasaki team manager, Mike Fisher was out there, Chuck's son, riding some old vintage bikes as well as some modern bikes. So cool for the fans to see.
Well, the latest, greatest technology and the best riders in the world are set to go here for Moto #1. We have to look back to last week. Ricky Carmichael making a big mistake and nearly getting run over by the entire field. And then racing, of course, with James Bubba Stewart, who also made a mistake deep in the field. Eventually, both of them found their way to the front, and we know what happened after that.
That's right. They battled all moto long. Ricky eventually lost his goggles, couldn't push up on the back of Stewart while he went ahead and passed Reed for the win.
James Stewart leading points for the first time since anyone but Ricky Carmichael did it, and he has this to say.
It is a little bit easier for, you know, the fans and for you guys to put a television race to sell to people when there's actually a race and a good battle the first moto, and it was good. You know, I had a great time. Like I said, it came off really strong for me, so just looking forward to this weekend too.
For Ricky Carmichael, an opportunity here at High Point to try to get back atop the points table. He has led the championship outdoors every year since 2001, when it was Sebastian Tortelli, not David Villeman. Of course, he'll have no shortage of competition here. K-Dub's on form. Lots of guys coming back to try to get to the top of the box too, David.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys there that are quick. Millsaps is going to definitely want to prove his point to people, but the main battle, I think, still all weekend long is going to be James and Ricky.
Promising youngster Millsaps wants to do better this weekend.
I just want to finish good. You know, I don't want to crash. I want to get good starts, and I want to finish up front. And, you know, if I do that, I'm happy. You know, top 5 would be good. You know, 4th, 3rd would be better. But, you know, you can only ask for so much right now.
So among those who will be contesting here, Davey Millsaps pretty quick in practice. He had so many crashes last time out. Of course, Carmichael's fast. Of course, Stewart's fast. Of course, Chad Reed is fast.
I think it's worth noting that Stewart was 2 seconds a lap faster in practice than Ricky was. That's not usually the case. Ricky usually is within a half a second, I would say, or even fastest. So, you know, that's something to look at before this race.
There are the practice times. Most of the usual suspects on the list, along with Nick Way, and it should promise to be a terrific race here with Ricky Carmichael and the rest. Now let's go to Aaron Bates for our Progressive Direct pre-race report.
In addition to marking the 30th annual race here at High Point, it also marks the 2nd consecutive year of the Monster Energy Kawasaki Triple Crown, consisting of 3 rounds and cash value of over $72,000. The big catch, though, is you want to sweep all 3 rounds. If you do so in the motocross division, you take home $30,000. If you do so in the lights division, you take home $10,000. Forbes magazine voted Monster Energy's parent company, Hanson's Beverage Company, the #1 small business in America last year, and this is their way of giving back to the sport that they love and giving these riders a little extra added incentive to go that much faster.
The extra incentive never hurts, but the riders are getting ready to go here at High Point. Let's take a look at the track. They've changed it a little bit, and for the better seems to be the consensus.
That's right. They did a lot of changes that made it easier for spectators standing around the perimeter. They can look down into the valley, see the whole track. Same with TV. We've got better perspectives with the cameras, and It did shorten the lap times a little bit, maybe 15, 20 seconds. So they're going to get into lappers a little sooner than they normally would. But I think overall, the Coombs family did a great job of getting this track ready.
And the Hulbert family that owns the property, of course, endorsing it all. As we take a look at our Honda starting lineup here, these are the riders that will be contesting the main event final, Moto #1, coming right up. Of course, we've already sort of chronicled the main players in this one. Watch for the 4, the 7, and the 22. They are typically the fast starters. There is Villeman on the left side of the racetrack. Out front goes James Bubba Stewart on his Kawasaki #7. Along with him, number 27, Nick Way with a good start. But Stewart's out in front. That spells trouble for everybody else. Carmichael's moved into second. Stewart with a problem. Stalls the bike almost anyway. And Carmichael gets by.
Yeah, Stewart just hit a little bit of mud in that second turn there. The front end pushed and pulled him out of his line, so he's back into third.
There is Chad Reed on the number 22 bike. Stewart, just like that, up into second position on the back wheel of Ricky Carmichael. And we saw the 12 of Villeman there also very much in evidence. And here we go. Ricky Carmichael is your leader. Bubba Stewart is right there. The crowd's going crazy.
You know, these two are such a class of the field. They always find their way to the front. Even if they don't get the best jump off the gate, 2 or 3 turns into the race, they're always 1 and 2, and Reed's always right there as well.
Well, we saw a worst-case scenario last week when both of them had problems early in the race. Carmichael right in the very first turn, and James Stewart a little bit later. They somehow managed to both get up to the front, put on this kind of a show for the fans, and get on the podium just as if nothing had happened. They are so much faster than everybody else in the field right now, and look at the gap they already have, pulling away from third place.
And we haven't seen this yet. You know, at Hangtown we had different scenarios where Ricky crashed or James had a bad start. They were never together from the very beginning. And so now they've got 35 minutes here to race each other and get to the checkered flag first.
A somewhat distant third is the number 22 Yamaha of Chad Reed. We just saw the tail side of him there as Carmichael continues to lead Stewart. And this great battle has the crowd on its feet. Yes, the terrible towels and whatever else they use here at Mount Morris are very much in evidence. Carmichael and Stewart in that order. Stewart looks like he's trying awful hard to show Ricky a wheel here and there.
Yeah, he's like that inside line coming up that hill. He keeps kind of scrubbing those bumps and trying to get inside of Ricky. And you got to keep in mind here, you can watch him. He's constantly inside or outside of wherever Ricky is. You know, that roost hurts so bad, it'll take your goggles away, and man, mainly it just hurts. So it's difficult to be able to follow a guy and stay on his pace but not run his exact line. He's got to always be just a little inside or outside and drop into the good line in the turns, but stay out of that roost when he's coming out of the corners.
Track holding up pretty well. Not a lot of super deep ruts that we saw last week in the mud at Hangtown. So the conditions here nearly perfect, not only for the fans but for the racers. Stewart is just trying so hard, and Carmichael looks pretty relaxed up front.
Yeah, I think Ricky knows it's a long moto. You know, 40 minutes back and forth. He's going to pace himself a little bit. He's going to save something in the tank for the end of the race and just try to not make any mistakes, put in the best laps he can.
Well, you can't hold your breath and grit your teeth for an entire 35-minute moto. Ricky Carmichael out of Havana, Florida. The Team Makita Suzuki RMZ 450 up front, but not by much. No more than a bike length or two separating him from the Kawasaki of Stewart.
No, and you know, these two pushing at this pace, it'll be interesting to see which one's got the stamina, which one doesn't. Ricky's known for his hardcore training regimen. He's always been one of the fittest riders on the track, but you know, this is what he prepares for, is battles like this, where he's got to go the entire moto and put his fastest lap in at the end of the race. We haven't really seen that with James. He's never really been pressed that hard, that long, but we're going to see it right now, what's going to happen.
Stewart now behind Carmichael. The gap has not increased nor decreased particularly. And here in this first couple of laps, it appears as though James Stewart just studying Ricky Carmichael, looking for perhaps a spot here or there where he might be able to make a pass, and if he thinks he's faster, then pull away.
Yeah, you follow a guy, you'll kind of find sections where you're quicker, sections where he's quicker, and you try to make up that difference. It's always an advantage being the guy behind initially, because you can find where, okay, he's a little quicker here. Why? How? You know, where can I make up time? And you'll follow his lines and sort of improve your riding in that area when you've still got the sections where you're quicker and you can try to make a pass there.
Stewart trying a couple of things here and there. He lost a little bit of ground. He's making it back up again. We go further into the field and we see the number 22 of Chad Reed and youngster Davey Millsaps.
We believe in hockey, and we believe in being
Brought to you by Toyota, proud sponsor of AMA Motocross. Toyota, moving forward. By Suzuki, lightweight, superior power, incredible handling. It's why champions choose Suzuki. By Progressive Direct. Don't go underprotected. Get a dirt bike insurance quote at progressive.com or call 1-800-PROGRESSIVE. And by Honda, the company that defines performance in motorcycles, ATVs, personal watercraft, and scooters. It's the 30th annual Kawasaki Monster Energy High Point National here at High Point Raceway in Mount Morris, Pennsylvania. Ricky Carmichael and James Bubba Stewart, a match race. At least you would think so. They're so far ahead of third place Chad Reed and fourth place Davey Millsaps, really carrying on a battle here. And now comes James Stewart. Gets in front of Carmichael for the first time. There's the move. We saw him setting it up for a few laps prior to that.
Yeah, he kept popping a wheel in there, and he knew he was a little quicker, and just set it up that lap and made it happen.
So now James Stewart out in front, reaches off the handlebars there for a tear-off. Carmichael gets a chance to study his young fast opponent here on the green, number 7. So Carmichael shuffled back into second spot as James Stewart, the points leader who won his first outdoor motocross national 1 weekend ago, is now your leader here at Mount Morris.
I don't think this is any reason for Ricky to hit the panic button. He's probably an advantage for him now. He can look and see where James was going faster. Why did he pass him there? What was he doing different? And he's still got his sections where he's quick, and he can kind of combine the two and make another run at James here as the moto wears on.
And now, as it was for Stewart, Carmichael has to find a spot out of the roost off of Stewart's Kawasaki to try to be able to maintain his vision all the way to the end. He's dropped back a little bit there, giving Stewart, I guess you could say, plenty of room for that roost to hit the ground.
Yeah, hard to say if he's just kind of lost the pace a little bit or...
Well, Kevin Windham out of the race, apparently. As K-Dub comes in on the number 14 Honda, undetermined problem. He's talking to his mechanic right now. Not sure exactly what the problem is, but he's making a motion as if it's cutting out on him, and the mechanic's standing there with his hands at his side is at a loss to determine what it is.
That's the universal signal for I hate this bike right now. When you rev your throttle and look at your mechanic and throw your hand up. Done that a time or two.
There's Ricky Carmichael, probably a second or two, I'm going to say 2 seconds behind James Stewart right now. This is the biggest gap by far that either of them has had over the other. No surprise that James Stewart, once he got to the front, is going to show the speed that he's shown in practice.
Yeah, I guess that's the 2 seconds a lap you're seeing right there. It is a little surprising to me. I haven't seen Ricky just kind of let someone go like that in a long time.
Ricky Carmichael regathering himself perhaps for an attack against the leader James Stewart. Stewart is the points leader, so Carmichael can't afford to sit back and rest on his points lead, which has usually been the case. And here's an example of the shorter lap times. These leaders are getting into traffic a little quicker than they have in years past here at High Point.
Yeah, I mean, we're just a few laps into the race here, and they're already lapping, you know, good riders. I saw Kyle Lewis go by there earlier, so this is going to play into the race. It's going to be a factor for sure. It's for the leader. It's definitely tougher to get by. The lapper doesn't know he's being lapped until the leader comes by. And then once he does, if he hears a bike behind him, he'll go, oh, that must be second, that must be third. So a little easier for Ricky to get by a rider after James has already sort of made the statement. You can see Kyle Lewis waves Ricky by right there.
And Carmichael goes past using the courtesy, and you can see the riders that are being lapped are giving them all the racetrack they possibly can. And here's Goose giving Ricky some lap time signals in the mechanic signal area, which is a new area here at this racetrack as well, along with some tunnels where the fans can get back and forth to different parts of the racetrack.
Now, when this track goes back and forth through that valley, as you G out at the base of those valleys, it gets very, very rutted. They till this dirt up really deep, and it causes a lot of ruts, even when it's not rainy here, which is most every year. But on the occasion you get good weather like this year, it's still very soft soil, very good soil, so it will get rutted, especially where the bikes are pressing down into the dirt.
A little bit of a save there by Stewart as he works through traffic, going past the number 38 of Jeff DeMint out of Kingwood, Texas on a Suzuki. And Carmichael has used the traffic to catch up just a little bit. Now they are pretty much together once again.
Yeah, lap traffic's definitely going to play a part. In fact, a lot of times, if James will get held up for 1 second behind somebody in a rut, Ricky can sweep right around the outside and get them both. So it'll be interesting to see how they get their way through traffic.
Carmichael making a run at the number 7 Kawasaki. They go past Justin Buckaloo out of Arizona on a Honda and continue their battle up front. Third place is so far back that this is just about all we have the opportunity to watch here. What a great fight for first place. Carmichael right there in the wheel tracks pretty much now of Stewart. 1, 2, there it is. Less than a second difference between them at this point, and the crowd is loving this.
Before the halfway point in the race, you can see him lapping guys. You know, see him come up on Sean Hamlin here. He was a top 3, top 5 guy in this class a couple years ago. He's had some struggles this year, but still a great rider. You know, it just shows you how fast these two are going.
Watching the leaders, but taking a look here at the running order at the bottom of the screen. Take a look. Hopefully you can find your best rider, your favorite rider. And we'll take a look at the top 20 here as we continue to watch. James Bubba Stewart and Ricky Carmichael battling for the lead. Stewart, Carmichael, a little bit more traffic there. What do they have to do to change? You know, they have an ideal line. If no one's in front of them, they have to change their lines constantly with lapped riders in front.
Exactly. Those lapped riders, you know, they're still racing. They're passing guys who are racing for 10th through 15th place already. So they're already up into the pack of competitive riders that are running the main race lines. So they've got to go lines they haven't done since practice, completely different sides of the track. So it definitely makes you think, and it'll get these riders mixing it up back and forth.
Very close there as Carmichael came down the right side of the hill and almost made a pass on Stewart. Now Carmichael with a big drive off the outside. Stewart holds the lead though. So they're riding very different lines, which makes the racing that much more interesting because they're on different parts of the racetrack. You don't know who might just jet by the other one with a small mistake any moment.
That's right. This soft soil, the way it ruts up as well, it'll cause a lot of mistakes. You come into that thing just a little too fast, a little too far inside or outside, just miss that line. It'll cost you a couple of seconds. So got to be very, very perfect in these corners.
Getting the bike set up just right, making it do what you want it to do underneath, absorb most of the impact. Stewart and Carmichael, two of the best in the world on top line equipment as they continue to hound one another. Carmichael behind Stewart right now, who's riding like a man possessed up for, whoa, a little mistake there as he got wide coming over the top. And Carmichael closed up a bit on Stewart with that small mistake. Now, here comes Carmichael down the inside, can't make the move. And Stewart still leads, lap rider right there on the line.
We're going to see how Stewart handles pressure here. He's got Ricky all over him. This is a very long moto, so he's gonna have some pressure for 35 minutes.
Our Toyota leaderboard takes second weekend of racing in the outdoor motocross season. James Stewart, Ricky Carmichael have delivered as promised all race long so far here today.
It looks like Ricky's starting to push the issue with James. You know, he's been following him now for a while. It's got to be getting time. He's thinking, you know, I need to get by this guy and get these 3 extra points for this moto win.
James just looks like he's trying a lot harder than Ricky, meaning the effort is more obvious. Not that there's more effort, just that it's more obvious. Look at this.
You can see Ricky wanted to dive to the inside there to get a pass. James came over a little bit, blocked the line, and Ricky had to lock him up. Went off the track a little bit.
But he's recovered. He's right back there. We can expect the pressure to continue. They both go inside of a lapped rider who, once again, pulls over, showing them the courtesy that they deserve as the leaders. Stewart opening a little bit of a gap. Here comes Carmichael again. Where is the spot on the track where Ricky Carmichael might decide to try to make a move?
Yeah, it's hard to say where his quicker point was. You know, James had that spot where right here where he kept going inside a little bit, showing him a wheel, and he finally made the pass stick. Maybe it's that downhill where Ricky came around and showed him a wheel there. Maybe he'll do it there. Up
over one of the tunnels that the fans can use to move from one part of the racetrack to the other. Stewart still leads Carmichael. Third place, not even in sight. James Stewart on the number 7 Kawasaki. Ricky Carmichael on the number 4 Suzuki. They've been like this since the drop of the flag. Carmichael in the air, pulls up alongside. Stewart has to know he's there. Hear that Suzuki right next to him. Oh, Ricky Carmichael is all over James Stewart now. Side by side into a right-hander. Stewart's got the position. He'll hold the lead, but Carmichael is right there. Through the mechanic signal area. Of course, some of the most interested spectators of this race are the guys wrenching on the bikes. And all they can do is stand there and watch. James Stewart, Ricky Carmichael, 1-2.
You can see all the ruts in between those jumps, just how it's rutted and soft this soil gets. Oh, Ricky making a little mistake there, but every single jump out there is like that. It just looks like someone took a giant comb and raked it up the jump. Just deep grooves. They'll drag your pegs as you come off. So it makes you have to be that much more precise when you're coming up a jump. You can't just kind of hit it anywhere. You've got to line up for that rut 50 feet early and know exactly where you're going to go.
Stewart with a bigger lead than he had a few moments ago because of that minor little off-track excursion by Carmichael. He's got a lot of work to do, and he's got to do it over again. He was right there behind Stewart a moment ago, and now he's a somewhat more distant second.
You definitely don't want to give either one of these guys a gap like this. You give them a little bit of room where they can run their own lines. They don't have to ride defensively. And it makes it a lot easier for them to turn in quick laps. And James has already proven he can run Ricky's speed. So, you know, Carmichael's now going to have to find a couple of seconds somewhere to close that gap.
He's working hard, trying to do exactly that. James Stewart out in front right now with only lap riders to worry about as he completes these final laps of the first moto here on the High Point Raceway Mount Morris weekend. Up over the tunnel once again. And the number 11 of Travis Preston in front of the leaders right now. Yes, very good riders have gone a lap down here at High Point, and it didn't take long. Stewart. Oh! James Stewart with a huge mistake, and that hurt. He went in head first off the top of that jump and is not looking real perky right now as he reaches to take his goggles off. The AMA officials, of course, directing everybody else out of the way. The number 799 there, Terry Otten, Michigan rider, comes through, and there is major panic going on among the corner workers and course workers right now here as James Stewart is down and lost in all of that just for a moment. Ricky Carmichael has inherited the lead, and that looks serious for James. Take another look.
He kind of slid coming out of that turn. It looks like his back wheel didn't follow his front wheel into the rut he was in.
Oh.
And didn't get the drive off the top of that jump. Front end just dropped. That's horrible.
Oh, and Carmichael comes by, manages to miss both the rider and the bike with the great awareness and control. Take another look.
You can watch it again here. His back wheel slides a little bit. He's got his front wheel lined up into a rut, and his back wheel doesn't follow it. And when he hits that little kicker, his back wheel's in another line. Just drops the front end down immediately.
Oh, and he knew before that front wheel hit the ground that that was going to be bad, and it was going to be a tough save. He couldn't pull it together. James Stewart down and out, apparently, of this first moto.
To see something happen like that, especially after the injury we had to Ernesto Fonseca earlier this year, anytime someone takes a crash like that, I think everyone's holding their breath, just going, oh man, get up.
Well, Davey Millsaps inherits a spot on the podium, and he has certainly made a turnaround from when he crashed in every time he got on the track. Now there's Stewart. He's up and shaking his head, but you can tell, I don't think he's alone. There are little birds that are singing to him right now.
Yeah, I've seen this guy take some hard crashes and get up and walk away. He's as flexible as a Ukrainian gymnast.
Well, he's going to need every bit of that as Chad Reed is now in second position. Again, everybody's moved up a spot with the exit of the leader, James Stewart. Reed now second, Carmichael the leader. Millsaps looking for a podium position in only his second AMA Outdoor Motocross weekend on the big bike.
What a great weekend that'll be for him. You know, I know he and his family there, the Millsaps training facility, they work so hard. And last weekend to go out and crash in every single practice, every heat, every moto, had to be difficult for them to take. So this is a great ride for Davey.
Well, they could call it a perfect record without divulging any details, and people would think it was a good weekend for Millsaps. He crashed every time he got on the track. Now, Ricky Carmichael much more relaxed, of course, because he has a huge lead. He and James Stewart opened up such an incredible margin on second place that now Carmichael can just, it's almost like a cool-down lap for Carmichael now.
Yeah, he's got such a lead here. He could take his goggles off and sign a few autographs as he's going by the little fans there.
Ricky Carmichael out front. We're so used to seeing that over the years. Again, correcting myself, that Sebastian Tortelli, the last man to lead the Motocross Championship until James Stewart did it by winning the overall at the opener at Hangtown. Ricky Carmichael has been the man leading Outdoor Motocross Championship points every season since 2001. And he's leading the points championship again with the exit of Stewart. So Carmichael looking around, taking his time, very relaxed, and it's going to be a leisurely checkered flag for the number 4 Suzuki rider as he will finish up moto number 1. Now the question remains, will Stewart recover enough to take part in moto 2? Here's the checkered flag, it's official. Ricky Carmichael wins the opening moto here on weekend number 2 of the Motocross Championship. At High Point Raceway, the Kawasaki Monster Energy High Point National is halfway complete. And as the crowd settles in here and gets ready for another show, this time it may or may not include James Bubba Stewart as we look at our Suzuki Moto results. We certainly hope that he's able to come back from Moto number 2, but these are the men and where they placed in this one, including Davey Millsaps.
Davey, were you expecting to be up here by this point?
You know, I was expecting to get top 5, you know, just ride my best, but, you know, I didn't stay consistent that Moto. I faded a little bit, but, you know, James went down and gave me the 3rd spot, so, you know, I'm going to take it.
Chad, Mount Morris was good to you here last year. You're over a minute behind these guys. Which part of the track are you going to be able to make up some extra time?
Man, those guys are hauling butt, and just want to try to get up there. You know, this is a tough track for me. It's just they just go so fast around here with the ruts and high speed. So I struggle, I admit it, but you know, it's nice to be up here on the podium.
Our Racer X Hole Shot Award. Watch the green number 7, James Bubba Stewart, rocket out of the field, and even though he made a slight mistake later and lost the lead, he gets the $500 from Racer X.
That's cool, but I like how Aaron just smashes Chad Reed, tells him he's a minute behind.
Ricky, you stated to me earlier this afternoon, keep your eye on this first moto because it's going to be one of the most epic battles in history. You proved your point exactly, but not quite the way you had planned it to plan out.
Nah, not quite the way I wanted to. You know, James got the whole shot, and he made a mistake. I got by him, and he was behind me and got by me, and I started catching him with about 6-7 laps to go, and couldn't get by him, I tried to catch him, sneak inside, and he closed the door, and I made a mistake, so I had to play catch-up again with about 3 laps to go. And man, he crashed. I hate to get it that way, I really do. You know, we had a killer race going. So hopefully he gets back out for the next moto and do some battle.
Nobody does more to protect your right to ride than the American Motorcyclist Association. Every racer on the track is an AMA member. How about you? Call 1-800-AMA-JOIN or visit AMADirectLink.com. The AMA, rights, riding, and racing. And now it's time for our Into the Mind feature with Nick Way.
You still live in your own chain?
Yeah. You know, gotta keep it looped.
Everyone wants to give you their opinion or, you know, advice, and I'm pretty much willing to take anybody's because, you know, I'm definitely trying to do better, and I'm not doing as well as I would like all the time. So, you know, I'm looking for answers for why, because I'm really dedicated. And, you know, sometimes some guy who just hopped up off the curb over here at the gas station got something to say, and, you know, I end up listening to that knucklehead. You know, I get labeled as the privateer guy, you know, and it's kind of like being talked about being the privateer. It's kind of like, oh, poor me, poor, you know, poor him or whatever. But, you know, really, I'm really appreciative of the situation that I'm in. And, you know, I hate to be labeled privateer because, you know, our team is really good. We're just not getting the support from the factory, and that's what, you know, enables us to be privateer.
You've just met Nick Way, who has come to be known as the working class hero, the fastest non-factory rider on the track. Way earned 5th overall in the AMA Amped Mobile Supercross in 2006 as a privateer with MDK Motorsports, earning him the top honors as a rider with that status. But the Lansing, Michigan native doesn't want to only be known as the privateer. He'll accept the label, but considers himself another rider, one who's taking steps towards victory. 5th place isn't something he jumps up and down about.
I race because I want to win, you know, and I'm not happy with, you know, getting 5th every weekend. I want to do better than that. You know, I'm happy to be a privateer and be in a position where I'm at now, you know, be in the top 5 pretty much all the time. But, you know, realistically, I want to, you know, have a chance at winning. You know, you're only as good as your last race for sure. And, you know, I think it's like what you talked about with James and Ricky being so dominant. You know, these factories are looking for the next thing. And I think that it's kind of confusing to me because some of these kids, they ride really well, but I don't see them, you know, coming in the 250 class and you know, beating me. You know, when people mention my name on a factory team or, you know, I'm getting mistreated by the industry or whatever it may be, you know, I guess I'm, you know, I'm pretty pleased that people notice that I'm doing a good job. But my main goal in the sport is not to get like the factory ride or be in the position to, you know, that everyone thinks is the greatest spot to race. But, you know, I just want to get my goals, you know, as far as the results wise. And if that's on a privateer bike and I can do that best there, then that's fine. You nailed it, all the questions. I got nothing else to say.
I've always respected Nick Way. You know, he did a real short time in the 125 class, didn't want to stay there long, moved up, took a chance, and he's had a factory ride, lost it, back at privateer status now, but he's always a hard-working kid and a good guy, and plus he's got an angry buzz cut, and I like that.
Here in the AMA Toyota Motocross Championship by FMF. Hazy, hot, and humid at High Point. Let's go to Aaron Bates.
Well, as these guys make their way back to the starting gate after the parade lap, you're going to notice a majority of the key players are here except for one. That's the number 7 Kawasaki rider of James Stewart. You saw him take a big spill in the first moto as he started to get into a little bit of cat and mouse game with Ricky Carmichael. He was taken away on the medic mule up to the medic tent, got evaluated up there. He ended up having a concussion, an injured neck, and also an injured knee. He's going to be taken to the hospital for further evaluation as we get ready to drop the gate for moto number 2.
Well, of course, a big disappointment for the fans as we take another look at our Honda starting lineup. They go to the gate in the order that they finished moto number 1, so these are the fellas that did awful good, but tough break for James Stewart.
Yeah, the Astros team has a set of tests that they'll run on you to see. They can detect whether or not you've got a concussion, what grade it is, and give you sort of some direction from there. But I think it was a no-brainer. He went in like a lawn dart, man. He needed to go to the hospital and get checked out.
Yeah, he looked a little woozy, and now Ricky Carmichael's job would appear to be much easier here in moto number 2. Let's see if he gets the whole shot. He runs right down through the middle of the pack, not at the front, however. I believe it's going to be, yes, the number 48, Jeff Gibson out of Ohio on his Honda gets the Racer X whole shot that time out. But he's quickly passed by Carmichael, who has now assumed the lead with the number 11, Travis Preston, behind him. And the 27, there's Nick Way, the man we just saw the feature about. Number 12, David Villeman right there as well, the number 12 machine. The Yamaha, but it's Ricky Carmichael out front, Preston second, Villeman third, and it looks like our whole shot man, Jeff Gibson, has faded back a couple of spots.
Maybe this could turn into a runaway here if Carmichael gets the little gap and takes off. I mean, you saw in the first moto, the only guy that's got his speed is James, and he's in an ambulance right now on his way to the hospital. So hopefully there's a good battle for second. I don't know.
Well, they're staying pretty close to Carmichael now, who, of course, knows that he's that much faster. He can relax, not make any mistakes. That's, of course, the consistency that has earned him so many championships. He knows what he has to do, and when he has to do it, right now all he has to do is cruise around out front and make sure that these guys don't get much closer to him than they are right now, or that he can even open a gap. Nice battle for second. We're getting our wish in that department.
And both of these guys definitely wanting to have a good summer. You know, their rides are both on the line. At the end of this summer, they're going to be looking for something new for next year, and a good national series will set them up nice for next year.
Talking about the number 11, Travis Preston, and the number 12, David Villeman, who are behind Carmichael right now, leader. And the two of them running second and third right now as they'll pop up over the start-finish jump there. First it's Preston, then Villeman, and the rest. Nick Way in fourth position.
Reed's back there behind Nick Way. Let's see if he takes any of Aaron Bates' advice to heart and finds himself a minute or so.
It's going to be a tough job. Preston, Villeman, side by side. Then the two Yamahas behind them of Chad Reed and Nick Way on his Honda, his privateer Honda. And there comes Villeman up the inside, made that pass look pretty easy. Preston, will he be able to answer? At this point, it looks like he is not. And the number 27, Nick Way, on an MDK Motorsport Honda, coming up pretty quick.
Both of these guys, Villeman and Preston, are tall, lanky riders. It's interesting to watch them kind of move around on the bike compared to like Ricky or someone that's a little smaller in stature. These guys look like they should be playing center for the Knicks.
By comparison, for sure. There is Reed now, quickly around the number 27. And the 118 coming up pretty quickly. Davey Millsaps, who earned a podium in only his second weekend in motocross. Great job for the young rider on the number 118 machine. There's Preston. And now fighting for third spot with Chad Reed all over him. Then it's Millsaps and the 27 of Nick Way. Reed up inside, shows him a wheel, can't get it done just yet though. They come down the hill and back up the other side. Ricky Carmichael pretty well gone. Villeman trying to hold these two off. And here comes Chad Reed. Let's give him the number 3 spot for the moment, and as he turns inside, it'll be official.
It's hard to say how much heart Chad Reed's putting into this, you know, not to knock him down or anything, but he's already said this may be his last national season. He wants to just do Supercross, and I don't know if that's a great idea for him. I mean, these guys are racing all summer. He's not gonna have that advantage. You know, he's gonna have to start racing again in the fall and only be competitive for 4 or 5 months there.
Another look at a block pass put on by Chad Reed. What is the real difference between the outdoor season and the Supercross season that makes a rider decide to do one and not the other?
I think some guys just like nationals and some guys prefer Supercross. It's I always enjoyed Supercross better. For me, it came a little more naturally. The outdoors are just different. It's long motos, it's grueling, a lot of ruts. I always had bad knees, so I was scared to stick my foot out in corners, but it's just a personal preference thing.
Our Toyota leaderboard tip with Team Suzuki, David Pingree.
We can take a look in this turn here. It's got a nice loamy entrance, big heavy berm there you can turn on. But as you come out of the turn, it gets a lot more hard packed down to a real clay base, shiny and slick with some rocks in it. And it got a little bit of water on it even at times, so it can be real slick. You watch Ricky come down the hill. You can see a shiny section there where it's slippery. He pivots off the heavy, loamy part where there's traction and then rolls it around into the turn. It really makes you have to ride the bike differently. Coming in, you can put a lot of pressure on the front wheel, make the turn, but as you come out, you got to get light on the bike, use a lot of throttle control, and roll through that slick stuff. Otherwise, your back or front wheel will just pop out from under you.
And that's this week's riding tip with Team Suzuki. Back to the action here in Moto number 2 at the AMA Toyota Motocross Championship by FMF at High Point Raceway for the 30th consecutive year. It's an amazing record that still is quite astounding. Here's the battle going on between David Villeman and Reed, and let's take a look at how all this happened.
You can see Reedy triple in there. Villeman's just doubling. He gets the triple and goes by easy. Be interesting to see if Millsaps can follow him. And he jumps up there. He's getting close to Villeman, but hasn't made the pass yet.
Now, Davey Millsaps goes inside on the Frenchman David Villeman, so both of them have gotten by. Oh, Reed with a mistake. That's going to give Millsaps an open door, but he recovers enough to hold the spot. Millsaps rams him from behind, has to practically park it, but now those two are racing pretty hard with David Villeman back in 5th position.
Well, if Davey doesn't get the results his parents are looking for, I think his mom will have him doing push-ups and chores and all kinds of extra stuff around the house, so he's got plenty of incentive to get by Reed.
Ricky Carmichael with a comfortable lead as we go a little further back now. Now it's David Villeman coming under attack from Kevin Windham. Windham on the 14, recovering from some undiagnosed mechanical problem earlier to challenge the number 12 Yamaha of Villeman.
It's pretty strange to see a mechanical like that at this level. You don't see a lot of them, especially the top riders, factory teams like that. So sort of an odd thing for Windham.
Windham now moving up into 4th, and it is Villeman back to 5th now. Is one spot off there a moment ago. Take a look at our Toyota leader. Brought to you by Toyota, proud sponsor of AMA Motocross. Toyota, moving forward. And by Suzuki, lightweight, superior power, incredible handling. It's why champions choose Suzuki. Well, Ricky Carmichael out in front, unchallenged by James Stewart in this second moto of the day following Stewart's crash. And Carmichael has built up such a big lead that we're going to wait to see how long it is before second place comes by. And that would be 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. We're going to be counting for a while, David Pingree.
Wow, we need a sundial.
We're seeing lap riders coming through, including the number 23, Kyle Lewis. And still no sign of second place. The signal boards are out for all of the lap riders. The 38 there, Jeff DeMint. And we're looking, of course, for the 22, Chad Reed. There he is, finally, and it's pretty close to that minute almost, not quite, that he had in Moto 1.
Oh, Aaron had it right.
Carmichael way out in front, just cruising around, taking it easy, no mistakes. Not even small ones at this point. The small ones can turn into big ones as the course continues to rut up here at High Point Raceway.
That's something to keep in mind about Chad Reed being that far back. If it wasn't for Ricky Carmichael and James Stewart, Chad Reed would be winning by almost a minute over the next competitor. So with the exception of those two guys, Chad Reed's the best rider in the world right now.
Well, Chad Reed has always been one of the contenders, and he was the contender, earning, of course, a championship. And but when James Stewart and Ricky Carmichael are both healthy and both go at it, it's just another level of competition. Chad Reed doing a super job out there on the 22 Yamaha. Former Supercross champion, Australian rider. Final lap for Carmichael, final lap for Reed. And there is Ricky Carmichael, who will once again move to the top of the points table with the misfortune by James Stewart. And who's to say that straight up Carmichael wouldn't have won this race anyway? He is the king of outdoor motocross.
Yeah, it's hard to say if those two can actually keep that pace up for an entire moto. It hasn't really happened yet. In Hangtown, Ricky lost his goggles. They didn't really get to push the entire moto side by side. Here, James went down with a few laps to go, so maybe we'll see it this year, maybe not. Maybe their pace is too fast to do for an entire moto.
So 2 motos for Ricky Carmichael. He'll take the overall, of course, with a 1-1 finish as we look at our Suzuki Moto results. Carmichael, Reed, and Millsaps again backs up his podium finish from the first one with 1 in Moto number 2 as well.
And Ricky pulls off his helmet here, show the crowd his sweet dirt mustache that he's got going. He's got to be happy at this point.
Well, Carmichael always happy when he wins, and of course Suzuki happy with his performance as well. Let's take a look right now at the Honda highlight.
Well, this is where James first made his pass on Ricky in that first moto. And these two just hounded each other the entire day, back and forth, watching each other's moves and lines and trying to learn where the other rider was quicker and picking those lines up. So those two are going to do this all season long. I think by Southwick in 2 weeks, James is going to be healthy again, and they'll continue to do this all year long. Now, whether or not they can keep it up without doing something like that, that's another question. That's James' crash there. Man, if you ever need to make yourself throw up and you don't have any castor oil, just watch this, because that is ugly.
Big impact with, of course, the consequence of James being taken to the hospital for further observation. Our overall, of course, with a 1-1 finish is Ricky Carmichael, 2-2 for Chad Reed, and Davey Millsaps, hats off to him. Let's go to Aaron Bates with Davey.
It was easy at first, and we got here and run their pace. I'm not ready for it really. I got arm pump and I faded, but every weekend hopefully we'll get better. And
Ricky Carmichael now atop the standings over Reed. Look how far down the table Stewart went with 2 DNFs. And now let's go back once again to Aaron Bates, this time with Chad Reed, runner-up.
Made some better choices with the lines, and bike was good. It's a shame I'm so far behind Ricky and James, but that's but we're gonna work on it. It's the same as every other year. I'm just gonna keep trying, and I felt good the whole moto, and physically I feel fine. It's my speed. That's all it is. Then I call this guy the GOAT for now.
Our Racer X Whole Shot Award Moto 2 went to Jeff Gibson. Take a look at this.
Yeah, Jeff's one of the nicest guys out there. Great rider out of Ohio, and obviously he's got some good reaction time. The Subway Coca-Cola Honda rider grabbing $500 from Racer X.
And good for him as we take a look at some of the overall awards. Once again to Aaron Bates with Ricky.
Great place to win. The fans were great, and definitely supporting the troops on the back of my pants. I think sometimes people lose sight of what Memorial Day is all about, and we got to give thanks to all the men that has fought for us.
Absolutely. Hey, we got a weekend coming up off for you. What are you going to do over your time off in order to keep your motivation and your momentum going into Southwick?
Take an off weekend, enjoy it, and try to work hard. James is definitely making it fun for me, and I enjoy it. It makes me work hard, it makes me practice hard, and gives me a goal. So looking forward to doing battle.
The sweet smell of success down here on the podium. Ricky Carmichael taking over a small margin lead.
For those of you who didn't understand the reference to the back of his pants, he's got "For the Troops" on his butt patch there, and I think James was running a big yellow ribbon as well, so showing some support for our troops overseas.
As we all do, the men and women fighting for our freedom are always uppermost in our minds, even though we take a brief respite to watch motocross racing. So we look forward to 2 weeks